I've been asked to make some opening remarks. I'm going to try to keep them to under 2 hours. I didn't know what to expect when I entered Wharton. I came from a nonprofit and government background, and I was somewhat concerned about what I would find here in terms of the people I'd be going to school with. I didn't know then that I would find a filmmaker who's become one of my best friends and my mountaineering partner, a Navy SEAL who would teach me how to ski, a consultant who would redefine what it means to throw a birthday party for me, or a working group so diverse and dedicated that they would push me to excel in ways that I never imagined were possible. After 2 years with this crew, with everything from late night working sessions to early morning dance parties, I can confidently tell you that the bonds that are formed in this program are no weaker than the bonds I formed in the trenches. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the graduates of the Wharton Executive MBA class of 2019.
Please, everyone should sit. Please sit. Good afternoon and welcome to faculty and staff, family and friends, parents and partners, and most importantly, to the MBA for Executives class of 2019, Wemba 43. I'm Jeff Garrett, Dean of the Wharton School, and it's my honor and privilege to welcome you officially to this Wharton School MBA for Executives Philadelphia 2019 graduation. No surprise to me, there's enormous energy in the room, excitement in the room, and yes, lots and lots of love in the room. Why? Because this is a great day of celebration, to celebrate at least two groups. First and foremost, the massive achievement for all the people sitting on the stage, but equally important, the incredible commitment and support provided by all the people in the auditorium. So, can we do a call and response first? Can everyone in the auditorium join me in congratulating Wemba 43 for everything you've accomplished to be here today? And then let's return the favor from everybody on the stage. A massive thank you to everyone out there, all of the support teams, because I think the people on the stage know they couldn't have made it without you. Thank you. I've been thinking a lot recently about the role of business, about the role of business schools, and about the role of higher education in society. We're living in a period, obviously, where words like populism, inequality, division, dislocation, uncertainty, and a seemingly abiding sense of pessimism are increasingly dominant in society. I'm an optimist by nature, and I expect actually everybody in this room is also an optimist by nature, but I try to be a realistic optimist too. Yes, there are real challenges in our world, but there are real solutions too. Solutions that our graduates will not only identify, but they'll work and are committed to delivering. This is what I think I know now after 5 years as Dean about students at the Wharton School. Yes, they want to get good jobs when they graduate, but they're also mission-driven to their cause. They want to make a positive difference in the world, and I believe that yes, that can be done through business and the private sector. Why do I think that? How do I know that? I know it by looking at what Wharton students do and what Wharton graduates do. So let me cite three simple examples, all recent examples, all leveraging the power of data and analytics, all about innovators and innovation, thinking differently, doing things better. All of the innovators I'm going to talk about are certainly doing well, but I have no doubt they are also doing profound good at the same time. In fact, I think that's the 21st century model for positive change, and it's what Wharton is all about. So what are my examples? The first one is Fintech and financial inclusion. I was on a stage recently listening to a Nobel Prize winner, Bengt Holmström, who said that Fintech is a revolution that will democratize investment for the world. The goal of Fintech is to get capital to people with great ideas, not just people with lots of assets and good credit scores. How does Fintech do that? They do that using data. Data is the new collateral. Probably everyone in this room, almost everyone in this room, has used a Square terminal to buy something from a small business, but I'm not sure Many of you would know that there's a reverse side to Square. It's called Square Capital, that is lending billions of dollars back to small businesses at much lower interest rates and with much higher frequency than has ever been possible before. How can Square Capital do that? Data. They know everything about the businesses to which they're lending because they do all the transactions for those businesses. So there's my first shout out to a Wharton alum, Jackie Reeses, who's leading Square Capital with rare passion. Second example might sound a little further afield from business school, but I know we have lots of doctors on the stage and not just the PhD kind. Health tech and cancer. You might have read in the news recently there was a big acquisition by Roche of a company called Flatiron Health, which was founded by a Wharton alum called Nat Turner. Nat Turner pivoted into health tech because somebody in his family died of cancer. What did he do in response? He wanted to turbocharge, using data, the cancer moonshot that Joe Biden talked about. How does Flatiron Health do that? They pool all the data we have on all the cancer patients, how all cancer patients have responded to every cancer treatment out there. They use that data to ensure that every cancer patient finds the treatment that is most likely to work for them as individuals. That's the power of data in healthcare, and no wonder that Roche wanted to acqui-hire Nat Turner to lead their efforts in health tech. Last example, again further afield, retail and economic development in emerging markets. Everyone at Wharton is really proud of the fact that Warby Parker was founded by 4 Wharton alums when they were on campus here. They were advised by Wharton faculty, and they turbocharged their business out of business school. Warby Parker stores are pretty cool. Their prices are low and their glasses are hip. But Warby was founded on a powerful social mission. The mission is to help people in developing countries lead more productive and more meaningful lives by giving them the gift of good vision. How does Warby do that? They use the proceeds from their commercial enterprise to distribute glasses around the world. Since their founding at Wharton 11 years ago, Warby Parker has donated over 5 million pairs of glasses to people in more than 50 countries. All of the Wharton alums I've just talked about are certainly doing really well in the world on traditional measures. But they're also doing profound good for society. And I think that's what Wharton is all about. Pivoting now to the students on the stage, I actually know that that's why you're here. Of course, you had to think about career prospects and jobs. But you actually had much higher aspirations than that. You came here to realize your wildest ideas and dreams, to inspire, to be inspired, to make an impact, to leave your mark. Our job, the job of the faculty in the school, is not only to help you while you've been here, but to position you and to be with you for the rest of your lives, to help you develop the skills, the knowledge, the networks, the conviction, the courage to turn your wildest ideas into the greatest outcomes, outcomes that matter, outcomes that will not only change your world, but will change the world. That's why you came here. That's why we're all so proud of you. I know and we know how much you had to do to get here today. I'm blown away by what you've done while you've been here, and I can't wait to see what you do now that you leave. So I think it's appropriate for me to doff my cap to our graduates. Congratulations. The most important thing I can do now is to get out of the way, but before I do that, I want to introduce our guest speaker today, a truly extraordinary American. As Dean of the Wharton School, I bless myself on a daily basis for the amazing people that I get to interact with. In a world of amazing people, there are few like David Rubenstein. David is the co-founder of the Carlyle Group, one of the largest and most successful investment firms in the world. I think probably most of you knew that. But there's so much more to David. He's an extraordinary philanthropist. He was one of the original founding signatories of the Giving Pledge, a group of American billionaires who committed to donate more than half of their total wealth during their lives. Recipients of David's support include numerous universities and think tanks, national institutions, and monuments in Washington, D.C. Some of the amazing things that David has contributed to philanthropically include loaning to the United States government a copy of the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, the US Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment, and the first ever map of the United States. David is also an extraordinary civic leader. He is literally chairman of many of the most important not-for-profit institutions in the world, including his and my alma mater, Duke University, the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C., the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, the Counselor on Foreign Relations in New York, and he's the former chair of the Tsinghua University Business School Board, where I've had the fortune to serve under him. In addition to all of that, David is a media star. He's got an eponymous TV show, The David Rubenstein Show, which features peer-to-peer conversations that's on Bloomberg TV and PBS. And last but not least, and I have to say this is a bit humbling for those of us on the stage who do not join him in this august institution, David is also a member, an academic member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. We're so fortunate to have David with us today. Can you please join me in welcoming him?
Thank you, Dean, for those kind, overly generous words. And when my eulogy needs to be given, I now know who to call. And I want to congratulate you on having the best Australian Philadelphia accent I've ever seen. And former Dean Tom Robertson, where's Tom? Tom is there. Tom, thank you very much for everything you did for Wharton as well, when you served for 7 years as Dean as well. Despite the introduction you just heard, you may have been wondering why I am asked to be the speaker today. I don't have an executive MBA. I don't have an MBA. I don't have any connection with Penn. I have no connection with Wharton. None of my children went to school here. I've never lived in Philadelphia. I don't like cheesesteaks. So I was actually wondering myself, why was I asked to make this commencement address? And so I talked to the dean, and he said, well, you weren't our first choice, but you were in the top 20 category. And so as I thought about it, maybe I really didn't deserve to be here, but as I thought more about the executive MBA program in my own life, I actually realized I had made a mid-career change as well. And those who have been here, who are graduating today, have made a very big decision when they decided to enter this program, because they could have gone along where they were, but they decided they wanted to do something that had real risks. The risks are these. One, they would have to work at their job while they were also going to school. The result is that you might not be able to do your job as well, and you might not be able to do your schoolwork as well. So that's a risk. Trying to do these two masters at once is not easy. Second, there's a risk that when they came here, they wouldn't do very well, and they might drop out or do poorly academically, and then everybody would know they didn't actually meet the requirements here, and people might look at them less favorably. And then there's the risk that your family may not be that attentive to what you're doing, and they might not like it, and you might say, all of you have impaired your family relationships potentially by doing this job, work, and school and your family at the same time. Now that concern probably wasn't so real, because it turns out that 16 babies have resulted from the members of this class so during the time they were here. So maybe the family relationships did work out okay. Now, and the other problem that they also had, and the risk is that once you get this degree, you say, okay, now I maybe don't want to go back to the employer that might have helped pay for this, and maybe I want to do something different. How do I tell my employer? How do I tell my family and friends I'm going to do something different? And am I really qualified to do something different than what I've been doing while I was in the mid-career program? So it's a bit of a risk, and I've taken these kind of risks myself, and maybe I was asked because I'm an illustration of the value of actually trying to change your career. Now, I was trained as a lawyer, and I thought the highest calling of mankind was to practice law. I tried it for a few years, and my colleagues and my clients suggested maybe that wasn't the right path for me. They kind of suggested I wasn't very good at it, but I wanted to do something different. John Kennedy famously said when I was very young, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So I was inspired to make a mid-career change after practicing law and get into politics and hopefully help work in the government. I went to work in 1976 for a man running for president of the United States, Birch Bayh, and 2 months after I joined his campaign for president, he dropped out. So some of you mid-career people may have this experience as well. I was unemployed. So I made a change from the law to politics, and there very quickly I was unemployed. But then I got an offer to work for another person running for president. His name was Jimmy Carter. And I said, isn't that the peanut farmer from Georgia? He has no chance of being president. But I had no job, so I took that job. And another mid-career change, and I went to Georgia, and they couldn't understand my accent. But after a while, Carter managed to win. However, when I joined Carter, he was 33 points ahead of Gerald Ford, and when I finished, he won by 1 point. But as we have observed, White House staffs are filled on people who work in the campaign, so I became the Deputy Domestic Policy Advisor to the President of the United States at 27, a job I really wasn't qualified for, as became apparent as I managed to get inflation to 19% and interest rates to 15%, a record nobody has matched since. But I thought, okay, I'll work in a second term of President Carter, and I said we couldn't possibly lose to Ronald Reagan because he's such an old man. How can anybody get out of bed at that age? He was 69 years old. I was 31. I'm now 69. Doesn't feel so bad now, but we lost. And so some of you may have this experience as well. I hope not, but once again, my mid-career decision didn't really work out because I was unemployed after we lost the election. So I had to go back and make another mid-career change, and I went back to practice law. But once again, my client said, well, you're really not that good a lawyer. And my partner said, why don't you try something else? So I took a risk at the age of 37. And I did it at 37 because I read that an entrepreneur will start his or her first company between the ages of 28 and 37. And after 37, the chances of doing it goes down. And I read that when I was 37. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a company. I started a small private equity firm in Washington, D.C. Now, I had no MBA. I had no money. I had no knowledge of what private equity was. I just thought it would be better than practicing law, and then my partners didn't want me to practice law. So I started it, and I took a risk. Fortunately, I hired people who had MBAs, and the best of whom had an executive MBA. And in fact, the person who had the executive MBA became our star investor and the person who was responsible for our track record over these years. And so it worked out. Making a mid-career change did for me because I took a risk. Though I should point out that when I was doing this, my mother said, well, David, you know nothing about business. Keep your law license in place in case you need it. And so even to this day, I'm still a member of the D.C. Bar, just in case I need to fall back on it and to please my mother. But I made another mid-career change not long ago, and two things. One, after Carlyle, my firm became successful, I decided to devote the rest of my life really in large measure to giving away my money and trying to give back to society. So I made a mid-career change to philanthropy. But most recently, I've made another mid-career change, and I'm just trying this out. I've got a TV show. Some of you may have seen it. It's called the immodestly named David Rubenstein Show. I didn't want it named that, but I said, a long Jewish ethnic name, is that really going to work on a TV show? And Mike Bloomberg said it's okay. So let's pretend for a moment that you all have a TV show, and you may want to have that kind of thing at some point in your career. So let's pretend you have a TV show and you're going to interview me. What would be the questions you should ask me? Well, let me go through what questions I think you should ask me. Number one, do I regret not having an MBA? Absolutely. If I had an MBA, I wouldn't have wasted time practicing law, and I would have not made some of the mistakes I made. Mark Zuckerberg wanted me to invest in his company when he was an undergraduate at Harvard. I thought it would get nowhere, so I said no. Jeff Bezos wanted to give us a third of his company when he was starting out, and I said no, that will go nowhere. So I've had an MBA, maybe I would have been better, but maybe if I'd had an executive MBA, I would have been even better. And the reason is this. An executive MBA is somebody, a person who has an executive MBA knows how to really use their time well and manage their time, because you're serving many different masters, as all of you know. And I think the discipline of being an executive MBA is actually better than the discipline of just being a regular MBA. So I congratulate all of you who've gone through this difficult trial of having many different masters you have to serve. But the answer to the question is I wish I had an MBA, and in fact, all of my children have or will have MBAs and no law degrees. In fact, my one-year-old granddaughter is now studying for the boards to take the MBA test as well. There's a test you can take when you're, a study group that you can study with when you're only 1 year old for your MBA, and no MedCats, no LSATs for her. Another question you might ask me is, do you really need an MBA to do well in business? Well, I got lucky, but I had partners around me who had MBAs, and particularly an executive MBA, and you don't really need an MBA. To be honest, if you are Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, you probably can get along without an MBA. In fact, they didn't even have college degrees in 3 of those cases, and Jeff Bezos doesn't have any MBA. But the chances of that happening are relatively small. So I would say you're much better off to have an MBA, and you're much more likely to succeed in business with an MBA, and I think an executive MBA is actually more valuable. What do I look for when I'm hiring MBAs? I've hired hundreds and hundreds of MBAs, interviewed them over the years. What am I looking for? I'm looking for somebody that actually knows what they want to do with their life, knows how to actually talk about what they want to do, has certain skills, seems to be highly motivated, wants to be in business for the right reasons, not just to make money, but to do something useful with the money. So those are the skills I'm looking for. And I've hired many MBAs, but tend to prefer executive MBAs because they tend to be more mature. They tend to actually have more life experiences that are more valuable. So I congratulate all of you, and any of you who are looking for a job still, well, you can call me at the right time. What qualities do I think somebody should have to be successful in the professional life? Well, let me go through what I think are the most important ones. I don't think you need to be a genius. I think reasonable intelligence is okay. Geniuses are too complicated, and I try not to hire geniuses because they're hard to manage. Reasonable intelligence, the willingness to work hard. Great things are not accomplished 9 to 5, 5 days a week. You have to really put in the time to do this. Secondly, persistence. You have to be able to say, overcome when people tell you no. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all were told no. So you need persistence as well. You need the willingness to share credit. Nobody can do anything in business by him or herself. You also need, in my view, the ability to focus on something, that make it your own, master something, not just don't become too spread out. You also need, in my view, the ability to share the credit in many ways that I didn't mention before. You need to really tell other people that you appreciate what they're doing. You express the word gratitude repeatedly to people. You also need, in my view, to learn how to communicate. What I mean by that is this: all of life is really about persuading people to do what you want them to do. So you persuade them by learning how to talk orally, by learning how to write well, and by learning how to lead by example. When George Washington was in Valley Forge, not too far from here, during the Revolutionary War, he could have gone to the Ritz-Carlton and stayed, but he stayed with his troops. He led by example. So learn how to communicate in a way that will make you a leader, in my view. Learn how to read repeatedly. 30% of college graduates never read another book after they graduate from college. 30% of college graduates never read another book. Read, and continuously read books much more than anything else. In my view, it's very important. Learn also about the importance of ethics. You're going to take your whole life and build your reputation, and you can destroy it in 5 minutes. You will be tempted to cut corners many times. Do not do so. Think about all the people who have tried to cut corners and what happened to them when they were caught. And you should always remember that your reputation is something you can never get back. So always be certain to comply with ethics. Also, remember to give back to society. My view is the people that give back to society are the people that enjoy life the most. And let me talk about that for one moment. MBA doesn't mean money beats anything. An MBA doesn't mean money beats anything. An MBA is a license to do many things in our society, but it really enables you, if you want, to make money. You don't have to. You can do many things in the nonprofit area with an MBA and do quite well. But if you choose to make money, the purpose of money is not just to buy more homes, artwork, boats, planes, and so forth. It's to enable you to do something useful for society. So I hope all of you will feel that with your MBA, you have a license not just to make more money than you did before, but you have a license to do something good for society. Now, in my view, the people that give back to society have an advantage. They will live longer, because happy people live longer. And you might laugh at this, but when people give to a food kitchen, people work in a food kitchen, people give scholarship money, they don't say, I hate myself for having helped these poor people. I hate myself for helping these scholarship kids. They're happy about it, and happy people live longer. David Rockefeller made it to 102. So even selfishly, if you don't really want to give back to society, you'll live longer. And then there's also a special place in heaven for those who do give back to society. Now you may laugh at that, but why would you want to take a chance that I'm wrong? What you should try to think about is not make the mistake that I did. I started getting involved in philanthropy when I was in my 50s. I should have done it earlier, made it earlier part of my DNA, and you should do that. Find something that enables you to give back to your country, your society, something that can be a project on the side, but something that will give you a sense of fulfillment. And I believe if you do that, you'll enjoy your life much more than you would otherwise if you just accumulate money. The people that have just accumulated money, in my view, are tortured souls, and they really don't know what to do with the money if they don't really have something on the outside that they really feel they've done something useful with. And think about this. In 1888, a man sat down to breakfast at his breakfast table in Stockholm, and he read his obituary. His name was Alfred Nobel, and he read that he had died. Obviously he hadn't. The newspapers had made a mistake. It was his younger brother who had died. But he read, nonetheless, his obituary, and it said, Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, merchant of death, is gone. Thank God he's gone. And he realized this is what people thought of him. And he said, I've got to do something more important with my life. So he worked out the program ultimately for the Nobel Prizes, which ultimately became his real legacy. So all of you, while you're not thinking about your obituary, what would you want people to say about you as you get to the latter part of your life? Would they want to say, merchant of death, great businessman, but didn't really do anything with his or her money, or that he did or she did something useful for society? So I'd like you to think about that and make that part of your DNA as you go forward. Now, another question that I would like to think that you might ask me is, how do I like interviewing? I enjoy it because you get a chance to tell people and listen to people that tell their life stories. Who are the most valuable people you've interviewed? They are Wharton graduates, of course. Or people that wanted to go to Wharton. One of them was Warren Buffett, who went to Wharton for a few years, but then he decided he liked football better in Nebraska. He moved back. Mike Milken, one of the great philanthropists of our generation. And then I interviewed another person who was a Wharton graduate a few years back, and that was one of the most interesting interviews I had. His name was Donald Trump. And I'm the president of the Economic Club of Washington. I invited him to come down. In the green room, he said, David, ask me anything you want, but ask me if I'm going to run for president. I said, president of what? He said, president of the United States. I said, Donald, you have no chance of being president of the United States. I know Washington, you're not going to make that. What's the other question you want me to ask? Ask me if my hair is real. You can feel my hair, and you can see it's real. Some people think it's not. It was a great interview, and the only question I stumped him on was, do you ever have any self-doubt about anything? And he just said, no, didn't have any self-doubt, and ultimately, he was right and I was wrong. He became president of the United States. So you never know, what will happen with people you interview. I'd like you to also think about this. One other person that I wanted to interview but haven't interviewed until recently was a man named Joseph Wharton. Recently, I had a chance to interview him, and he asked me to convey this message to the graduating class. Mr. Wharton, any words of advice for the graduating class of Wharton Executive MBAs? Yes. First, congratulations. Second, I wish that there had been an executive MBA program when I was trying to advance my career. I tried many different things, changed my focus focused mid-career a few times, but always wished I had a more formal education. I would certainly have enrolled in an executive MBA program if one existed at the time. Third, you will wear my name on your resume for the rest of your life. I am proud that you chose Wharton for your executive MBA. Make me proud with what you do with the MBA. I will always be watching. And what he said is something I'd like you to think about as I conclude. For the rest of your life, people will say to you three things, or ask you three questions. One, where are you from? Two, what's your name? And three, where do you go to school? And for the rest of your life, you're going to say Wharton. And you should say, I went to school at Wharton and I got an executive MBA and I'm very proud of it. But people will judge you with very high standard. You will have high expectations of what you can achieve, and you should try to live up to that. And you should try to not only live up to the expectations people have, your family and everyone else, but you should try to do something useful for society, to give back to society, and to make a difference in society. We're only on this earth for a short period of time. And the accumulation of money isn't the only purpose of life. The accumulation of money is interesting, but what you really should want to do is make a mark for yourself and make your partner, your spouse, your children, your parents proud that you've done something with your life more than just make money. You might have built a company, but even if you built a great company, you should do something to give back to society, and do so because not only will you live a longer life, but you will have a special place in heaven, and I hope everybody on this stage will get to be in that special place in heaven not too long from now, maybe 100 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, David. Lots of food for thought for us all. My only immediate reaction is I may have had a similar relationship with my mother to yours with your mother. My mother was always disappointed in me. I think she left school when she was 14. She was very disappointed I didn't become a plumber because she knew that toilets always broke down and she thought I could always be employed as a result. I hope it's worked out okay. It's now time for me to introduce the speaker from the graduating class, Michael Sinecor. Michael had a very interesting career at JP Morgan, certainly during interesting times around the financial crisis. He was at JP Morgan during the financial crisis, and then he was on the Middle East desk at the bank during the Arab Spring 2011. I guess that got him interested in politics, so he went to work on Capitol Hill and has been there since 2013. Maybe commuting with you, David. You know, it's easy to get to Philadelphia on the Acela. It's an hour and a half. You're welcome. Michael, you probably know the Acela. You can give David some tips on that, on how it works. But having worked for 3 Congress people and now becoming a legislative assistant for the senior senator from Nebraska, Deb Fischer, is an incredible achievement. I know that you're very proud of your own mentorship of younger staffers, including having somebody you mentored already be in elected office themselves, somebody who is now at 24, the youngest member of the legislature in the United States. And in addition to that, I gather that you're a baseball fan. I don't know how this works. How do you combine the New York Yankees and the Washington Nationals? Maybe the answer again is the Acela corridor. So it must have been a tough day for you when the Phillies signed Bryce Harper, but I don't think it's worked so well for Bryce Harper in his time, in his 1.5 months as a Philadelphia Philly. But maybe you can do something today to help him get out of his slump. Please join me in welcoming Michael.
Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you, Mr. Rubenstein, for your speech as well. Fellow graduates, friends and family, distinguished alumni and faculty, we gather here at the juncture of a journey completed and a journey to begin. Exactly 2 years ago on Tuesday, we entered Huntsman Hall as 200 strangers. We leave now as a class, friends, and family. We came to Wharton to learn to succeed, knowing we'd be guided by world-class faculty, pushed forward by our high-achieving classmates, and spurred on by a legendary alumni network. But as we celebrate today's successes, I also want us to celebrate our challenges, failures, and losses. The confidence to face these challenges and the ability to overcome them define a true Wharton education, one that will make us better managers, leaders, citizens, family members, and friends. The excitement of that first meeting in Huntsman made us feel as if nothing could go wrong. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. Right before our third weekend of school, 2 of my colleagues were shot in an early morning baseball practice in the DC suburbs. A few months later, the congressman I worked for, someone I greatly admire, announced his retirement. A job I loved was coming to an end. A month after that, 4 days before our statistics midterm, my girlfriend and I broke up. Then, last spring, my grandfather, someone who had mentored me for 32 years, passed away after a long battle with cancer. I do not pretend to have faced the most adversity of our class, but as the first year drew to a close, I began to question my decision to come here and even considered taking time off. But the more I reflected, the more going through these events without my classmates became unimaginable. Every one of these trials quickly followed by a Wharton weekend, and every weekend, members of this class got me back on my feet and ready to take on the next challenge, academically, professionally, and personally. And all these experiences were teaching me to overcome failure and loss. It often occurred in small moments and in unexpected ways. It was the loud, laughter-filled conversations at NUDEC. It was hearing friends talk about a new business venture at breakfast. But it was also the father worrying about pulling his kids out of school because he had to take a new job across the country as his company was closing. It was the baby showers in the Mbas lounge. It was the mother pulling out her photo to show a photo of her newborn as we walked from Vance to Steinberg Dietrich. But it was also the father who speaks with fear and hope about yet another surgery for his new baby. The closeness we felt late at night as we finished group projects from remote cities over Google Hangout, still debating the parable of the sadhu on the train ride home, hours after class had ended, and the classmate who offers you a place to stay when you don't have a home to return to. The 1 a.m. cheesesteaks at Abner's, the 3 a.m. ones at Wawa, and the classmate sharing the time his first business closed, but how he got back on his feet and tried again. After all of this, everyone is somehow still the same person, only a fuller expression of their potential, a better version of themselves. We could not have overcome so much without each other, and we know we can rely on each other in the future. By earning MBAs, we are committing to a certain life, one that will take us to the pinnacle of business, government, nonprofits, and 1,000 other endeavors. Doing so requires great risks, difficult trials, and at times, disheartening failure. In what feels like a lifetime ago, and yet like yesterday, we began as 200 strangers in Huntsman Hall, but shaped by the trials of school and life, became 200 friends, a class, Mbas 43. I can think of no other group with whom I would have rather walked through the fires of Wharton. And as we step to the fires of the future, I can think of no other group with whom I would rather share my successes and my failures. I leave here with a new job I love. My friends return to the baseball diamond to throw out ceremonial first pitches, and I'm striving every day to live up to my grandfather's example. Soon, we will scatter. I know that for each of us, moments of darkness will fall again, but we can be assured we will be guided by a bright light, born out of 1,000 sparks, ignited every time a fellow Wharton classmate sets out to meet success or failure, knowing that 200 friends are cheering them on. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Michael. Our next speaker is the person who actually deserves all the credit for the way the Wharton School administers the Executive MBA program, Peggy Bishop-Lane. Peggy has a PhD from Northwestern, which is why she's wearing the beautiful purple robes on the stage. And I can tell you that she throws all of herself, heart, body, mind, and soul, into the MBA for Executives program So much so that she couldn't walk down the stairs today. She's still recovering from surgery, but she absolutely needed to be here with the graduating class. I think everybody in the class knows that Peggy is a fantastic teacher. Up until now, there have been no accounting jokes, Peggy. But Peggy teaches accounting, financial accounting to the first year class. Please join me in welcoming Peggy.
Of course, you all have my sincere congratulations. Congratulations on a job well done. That means something different for each of you. For some, it means staying the course, grinding through each day, night, weekend, not letting up. For others, it means working through the toughest of times and asking for help when you need it. For others still, it means helping your classmates in need, whether it's with schoolwork, a personal issue, or helping them take the next great step in their journey. For others, it means earning honors. I'll announce them later. Or avoiding an LT. I will not announce them. Whatever the reason, we're proud of you. We know that you couldn't have done this alone. The people in your lives at home, at work, friends near and far were largely responsible for giving you the time that you needed to be successful here. So I know we've already thanked them, but let me add the school's thanks, for we know how key that support is for us to do our jobs well. So thank you all. Students often ask me, how is our class different from others? Our admissions process and team have this thing down to a science. So generally speaking, classes don't change much from year to year. The average age goes up or down a year. The mean GMAT score goes up or down 10 or 20 points. A new industry or region is represented, but that doesn't typically affect the class. Rather, it's the personalities that shine and shape the two-year experience that make a difference from year to year. With your class, I've been struck by the level of support that you've given each other throughout the last 2 years. I've seen it particularly as you've dealt with hardships or big life changes, as Michael talked about, and your classmates rally around you to get you through. There have been sad events like the death of a friend or family member, or happy events like a new child or a new job, both extremes creating demands and strains on you that would have been much harder had you not been truly cared for and about by your classmates. This was never more clear to me than on our China GBW. On our second night in Shanghai, we were on our own for dinner and groups went to various locations around the city. The group I was with was taken care of by Lisa Chen, one of your classmates who had lived in Shanghai and was fluent in Mandarin. Lisa organized a dinner at a wonderful and wonderfully inexpensive restaurant, ordered all the food, took care of all the communications for about 20 of us, East and West Coast. I don't know how I would have eaten dinner without Lisa. She made sure people were going to be okay. That was grand enough. But when we returned to the hotel from dinner that night, we stumbled upon a few frantic faces in the lobby. They were clearly upset, ran up to me and explained that one of your classmates was really ill. At first, I thought this was the standard really ill that happens on a Mbas trip and chalked it up to too much wine at dinner that night. But as I got closer, I could see the faces were not of people taking care of their drunk friend, but truly worried faces. Hotel staff had gathered, and a couple of doctors in the class who were in our group were attending to the classmate. We were fortunate to have no shortage of doctors on that trip, and quickly the orthopedists and dermatologists stepped away to let the ER docs and internists get to what they do. As the vice dean, many of the students were looking to me to do something. But an accounting PhD doesn't really train you for this. As my son said once, my mom's a doctor, but not the useful kind. While I never want to be in a situation like that again with one of our students, I was given this amazing opportunity to step aside and watch in action the expertise you bring to the program and to the world, and see you in a different light. I got to experience how much you genuinely care for each other and your craft. I watched as the doctors stabilized your classmate, spoke to the hotel staff about what was needed, worked quickly but calmly, all the while soothing your classmate. Now, the point here is really that there were 4 key doctors involved, 2 from the East Coast and 2 from the West Coast. Clearly, 2 of these people had not known the ill classmate prior to this week, but there they were, riding in the ambulance at the side of their new classmate throughout, even giving up class time the next day to be sure she was improving and getting the right medication. And if that wasn't already a great story, here's the extra Wemba-ness about it. The doctors were learning the entire time, not about medicine per se, but about the Chinese healthcare industry. They were fascinated by the process and conditions they saw at the Shanghai hospital and amazed at the price. Now, in your mind, think about how much an ambulance ride, a visit in the ER, and medication, all of which took about 1 to 2 hours, would cost. It was less than $100. And they arranged the next day to go and do a tour of the hospital and talk to the physicians there. Keep in mind, this was 1 day of the program. And while you all aren't literally saving lives every day, you are performing these kinds of interventions on a regular weekend. I could easily tell a dozen more stories, but the theater needs us to get out of here by 6 o'clock. I see this willingness to help more in your class than I've seen before. Maybe because my China experience with you made it that much more palpable to me. Maybe because you all were so good to me when I was ill last year. But maybe it's because you really are that much more helpful. So when people ask me how class 43 was different, I will say, well, they were the helpful class. Don't let that stop at graduation. Be the helpful class for years to come. Be more than a network, be a family. Congratulations on all your achievements. I couldn't be prouder. Thank you. And now, I'm being joined by Cathy Maloney, Director of the MBA Program for Executives in Philadelphia and also the Director of Alumni Engagement. Before we honor the students and their achievements, there's someone very special who we would like to recognize, as she is about to retire after many years with Wharton.
I'll hold them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, you're up. I'd like to ask Diane Harvey to come forward. This is a big surprise. I know you're going to get me bad, huh? Just over 28 years ago, Diane was one of the first team members my then boss, Ishik Inselba, and I hired to join the WEMBA program family. Diane has served as class manager for 15 WEMBA classes, beginning with class 16, and she is now sending her last group away, class 43. During this time, Diane's guided more than 1,600 students and supported dozens of faculty members. Diane ensures that every WEMBA student who passes through the hallowed halls of the Wharton School had an excellent experience. She did this with grace and a wicked British sense of humor that helped our students deal with all that life threw at them. We'll miss her tremendously, but when times get tough, we will all remember her saying, "Remember to breathe." For those of you who don't know this saying, it's on her email signature. So please join me.
Wait, I want to say something.
Oh, okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Thankfully, Diane's going to be with us for a few more months, which is going to make it easier for us to be in a state of denial about her leaving. I can't tell you how much I've relied on Diane's advice and honest feedback over the years. I'm sure all of you staff, students, and faculty can relate. I don't like to think of a time here at Wemba without Diane, so maybe if we start showering her with presents, she'll change her mind, or at least come back frequently to remind us how to do things properly. So Diane, please accept this token of our gratitude, and let's recognize Diane for her years of service at Wharton.
Next, we're going to announce the student awards. Each year we present 2 student awards, which the class nominates. The first is called the Benjamin Franklin Award, and it's given to the student who's demonstrated a strong work ethic. And second, the Dean Spirit Award is given to the student whose enthusiasm has helped to create memorable experiences for their classmates. I am pleased to announce that this year's winner of the Benjamin Franklin Award is J.D. Thomas. The class selected J.D. not only because of his outstanding academic achievements, but also because of his commitment to the success of his classmates. During the past 2 years, he has fostered teamwork and was always there to lend a helping hand to his classmates. He showed by example the value of collaboration and cooperation in an academic environment. JD's work ethic was second to none and was always the workhorse for any study group he was a part of. JD has an outstanding sense of humor, always upbeat, and was always ready to help his fellow classmates. JD, you want to come up and get your gift? Congratulations. You're welcome. Thank you. He also got married this year to his Wemba classmate, Cheryl White. They were engaged when they began the program together. Our second award, I'm happy to announce this year, is Tom Gavin. Tom was selected by his classmates because of his leadership role as their social chair. Tom did not seek out this role, but he opened his heart to every member of the Wemba 43 class, organizing social activities that enabled the class to form strong connections beyond the classroom, and especially one of our final events before the end of the program that we finally call the Quaker Dinner. His favorite part of organizing the class events was that he was able to connect with each and every single member of the class, even if they didn't really want to talk with him. And his second favorite part was showing off the many interesting things and fun things to do in our hometown of Philadelphia. He says with humility that this job was made easier because the class showed up day one and were always open to whatever they offered to connect with classmates. The students said he brought out the best in others by pushing them outside their comfort zones, and that he took a personal interest in making authentic human connections with everyone. I know that because of JD and Tom's efforts, the Wemba 43 class will remain close. Please join me in congratulating them. Thank you. Come on up and get your gift. Well done.
It's now my great pleasure to announce our highest academic award winners, beginning with our faculty. Wharton recognizes those instructors who have excelled in the classroom, determined primarily by your course evaluations. These individuals stimulate your interest, communicate new ideas clearly, and demonstrate the best of what it means to be a teacher. Please see the listing in your program for the award recipients, but I would like to ask those who are on the stage with us today to please rise. Excelling academically in a program that includes some of the highest achievers in the world during a period wrought with competing demands for time is a feat that is appropriately described by the word awesome. While overused in our vernacular today, I'm truly awed by the accomplishments of these individuals. First, we recognize those students from the Wharton MBA class of 2019 who achieved graduation with honors. This award is given to those whose GPA is in the top 20% of the class. When I call your name, please rise. Rebecca Bennett. Kenneth Burasat. Michael Burns. Lisa Chen. Robert Chen. Catherine Connolly. Austin Dang. Ryan Hammond. Oliver Himes. Jay Jang. Nicole Koffel. Robert Piper. Melina Robbins. John Tamas. Catherine Tan. Ni Tan. And Jeremy Trethaway. This next set of students not only earned graduation with honors, but also the designation of Palmer Scholar. This achievement is given to those whose GPA is in the top 5% of the class. When I call your name, please rise. You'll receive an award after you cross the stage. Ashish Bumla. Avi Deutsch. William Dorrance. Aaron Jacob. Andrew Lewis. Jason Peart. And George Palofis. Congratulations to all our honors students. And now, Wharton MBA class of 2019, let's line up for roll call and the awarding of diplomas. Michael James Sinecor. Avi Deutsch. Thomas Gavin. Lamel Chavez Thomas Jackson. Benjamin Murray. Catherine Nicole Connolly. Kevin Alas. Naveen Anay. Keki Balsara. Seth Bondi. April Bar Siman Tov. Gabriela Velosa Barbieri. Rebecca Bennett. Ash Boomla. Richard Whitaker Booth. Kenneth Bourassa. Michael Trandon Burns. William Carey. James Preston Carlson. Christopher M. Carter. Denise Carter. Mirza Kavalik. Eddie Chang. Steve J. Chang. Zhozhen Chen. Lisa C. Chen. Robert Chen. Ying Yi Cheng. Andre Chepiga. Richard Shishan Chow. Ettore Komi. Shumsher Singh Dalal. Austin Shihal Dang. Scott Desmond. Andres Diaz. Not here. Okay. Robert Matthew Doherty. William Dorrance. Victor Michael Flores. Iris Gavez de Campos. Lulu G. Rena George. Rebecca Marie Gilday. James Gilfillan. Gautam Gole. Donata Skarblauskas. Antoine Grant. Christopher Grillo. Song-hee Han. Ryan James Hammond. Oliver Himes. Ariana Georgine Henning. Alana Angelina Hewitt. Caitlin Holmes. Aaron Mark Jacob. Varun Jain. Jay Zhang. James Zhang. Svi Jonas. Shri Kame. Nilima Connery. Caitlin Elizabeth Kennedy. Maura Kennedy. Daniel Sunwoo Kim. Jared King. Nicole Rochelle Koffel. Emmanuel Kuntu Blankson. Karthik Shriram. Natalie Leong. Jessica Lurdsuwanrit. Andrew Lewis. Karthik Kilpak Linganathan. Patrick Liu. Jose Fernando Machado Luna. Kiran Malaneni. David Manri. Michael Mashner. Irina Maslenikova. Joshua Malden. Sean McGonigal. Yozgen Manachero Jose. Christopher Mendoza. Eric Lawrence Merce. Daniel Benjamin Nagler. Micah Niebauer. Maria Nikitayeva. Ramraj Pandey. Achut Pandya. Hai Si Pang. Jason Mark Peart. Fernando Pereira. John Petito. Yvonne Fan. Jennifer Phillips. Robert Emil Piper. George Michael Polofis. Vinicia Silva Pires. Antoine Puget. Ajit Rajput. Melina Bryn Robbins. Ryan Timothy Robson. Ryan Ross. Shir Sadan. Alexander Sanchez. Tilek Talgatovich Sargazakov. Rana Joy Surkar. Loit Sarma. Stephen Matthew Schmidt. Payal Shah. Gaurav Shivare. Eric Stam. John Staten. Padma Subarathanam. Sudarshan Sudararajan. Gabriel Givens Surratt. Cheryl Lynn Tamas. John David Tamas. Catherine Tan. Catherine Alexandra Tarbox. Boris Tolpin. Ni Tan. Matthew Tormenti. Jeremy Trethaway. Christopher Singos. Swapnil Upganlawar. Sally Wong. Syed Fukan Zaidi. And Brandon Zimmer. A hearty congratulations to all of our graduates, the class of 2019.
We're almost there. Good afternoon. I'm Sam Lundquist, Wharton's Vice Dean for External Affairs, and more functionally, I'm the Chief Alumni Relations and Fundraising Officer for the school. We love what we do because we are the team who cares for you after you graduate as lifelong members of the Wharton family. Keeping Wharton relevant and convenient for you is our job. It's truly a labor of love, and we really look forward to seeing you all around the world. Dean Garrett, Cathy Maloney, Cynthia Orr, and I will serve as your contacts going forward. As of today, you are no longer Wharton students, you are now Wharton alumni. And to commemorate this transition, if you haven't already done so, please move your tassels from right to left on your mortarboard. You are members of an unparalleled community of 98,000 graduates representing 153 countries around the world. Do you remember how proud you felt the day you were admitted to Wharton? That was an important moment and a turning point in your lives, but it was just the beginning of your relationship with the school. You will carry the Wharton flag for life. And thank you, David, for making this point so strongly in your remarks. Wharton is now part of your personal brand. And at the same time, your success will lift and strengthen the school. To that end, we need you, and we will always be here for you. In fact, wherever you are, we will be there for you as well. So make sure that you take advantage of all of the opportunities that we present to you to grow your career, sharpen your skills, and expand your perspectives, and strengthen the network throughout your life. And I promise you, we'll make that easy for you. You'll want to take advantage of the remarkable alumni network. So many of our alumni acknowledge that success is directly tied to their Wharton experience. With gratitude, they choose to give back to the school and pay it forward for future generations. As you step into life as alumni, your participation in the 2019 class gift marks your deep relationship with the school. Thank you for investing early in the future of Wharton. We're grateful for the dedication to Wharton and your contributions to the class gift, which will inspire Mbas 44s to follow in your footsteps. And I made the same challenge to Mbas 42s last year to inspire you. David, I am really happy to tell you that 100% of this class participated in the class gift, a long-standing Wemba East tradition, raising $208,000, $380. Thank you very, very much. We thank this year's Class Gift Committee who worked tirelessly to ensure the success of the Class Gift campaign, and the Class Gift co-chairs will present the check to Dean Garrett, Tom Gavin, Lamel Jackson, and Benjamin Murray. It's a remarkable gift, and on behalf of all of the Wharton School faculty and staff and administration, we thank you from the depths of our heart. I'm now delighted to share with you an important Wharton tradition. Each year, alumni who have demonstrated leadership within Wharton and Penn, the Wharton and Penn community, are extended an invitation to participate in commencement. One graduate is selected to serve as Alumni Marshal, who will pass the 2019 alumni flag to members of the graduating class. This year, we're thrilled to have Scott Wheeler, a 1987 MBA graduate, as Alumni Marshal. Scott is chairman of investment bank DCS Advisory. He served on Wharton's graduate executive board for 10 years, seven of which he served as chair. Scott and his wife Mary are generous supporters of the school, and they are also Wharton parents. In passing the 2019 alumni flag to Catherine Conley, Wharton MBA 2019, Scott is linking the Wharton alumni of yesterday to those of today. Welcome to the alumni community, and congratulations, class of 2019.
Fantastic work. This is the end of the ceremony. So I guess it's now time for me to tell everyone in the floor and remind everyone on the stage that doing an executive MBA at the Wharton School is not an easy thing to do. This is the longest, hardest executive MBA in the world, which I think is why there were so many standing ovations during the course of this ceremony. So the last things for me to do are very simple and very heartfelt. The first one is to say thank you, to thank everyone who has made this day possible for our graduates, all of their support systems at the school and in their lives, their employers. Everybody should be sharing in part of this wonderful occasion. First thing. Second thing, congratulations. Massive congratulations to everybody who's graduating today. You know more than anybody else just how much work you had to do, and you should be so proud of everything you have achieved. And the last word is celebrate. It's time to celebrate all of that achievement. There's a fantastic reception outside. It'll be indoors, outdoors. I know everyone's going to have lots and lots of fun. That's the end of the official proceeding. I think we are now going to recess to the stage right. If you could just wait until everyone leaves, then the fun can begin. Congratulations. Thank you. Time to celebrate. David?